This is the next video in my Frieren versus Clone Recreation series. Today, we're breaking down C4 and C5 from the basic layout all the way to the final, so you can clearly understand how to recreate it in After Effects. If you're interested, you can find the free asset pack I'm using in the video description. And if you enjoy this content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. All right, let's get started. For scene 4, we already have the background, the character, and the smoke layer set up like this. Now, I'll start animating the smoke by adding position keyframes. Around frame 27, I'll reverse the motion, since this is when the energy burst starts to erupt. Check the motion once again, then add opacity keyframes so the smoke gradually fades out. At this step, I'll apply F9 to the opacity keyframes, then adjust the graph editor to make the fade out motion smoother. Next, I'll add a sharpen effect to the background with a value of around 50 to bring out more detail. Then I'll duplicate this layer and apply a gradient ramp using 2 blue tones, light and dark, lower the opacity to about 30%, and set the blending mode to overlay to add more depth to the background. For the smoke layer, I'll start by applying the matte choker effect to soften the outer edges so it doesn't look too harsh. Then, I'll switch the blending mode to screen, allowing the smoke to blend more smoothly with the background. Next, I'll duplicate this smoke layer once more and add a distance gradation effect using a value of around 30, a white tone, and about 70 blur to making the smoke feel more natural and visually pleasing. Finally, I'll add a fill color layer to the character to better match the overall scene, helping the character blend more naturally with the lighting and environment. Next, I'll add the magic circle to the scene. First, enable 3D layer for it, then set the Y rotation to around 92 degrees, and set 2 keyframes at the first frame and around frame 10 to create a scale-up reveal effect. Make sure to adjust the graph editor so the motion feels smooth. Then, I'll add a rotation animation by keyframing the Z rotation. Here, I'll set it to rotate at about 1 degree every 2 frames and use loop out offset to loop the rotation across the entire timeline. Next, I'll add the star glow effect to create a soft blue light matching the original anime style. Then, I'll combine it with glow and deep glow. Glow boosts the brightness, while deep glow makes the light spread softer and thicker. Fine-tune the settings carefully, making sure the light isn't too harsh but still feels strong, and complete the magical lighting effect. To bring more life into the scene, I'll add lighting around the magic circle, enable time remap, and adjust the timing to fit the shot. Just like before, I'll use loop out to repeat the animation across the timeline, and finish with a bit of deep glow to make the lighting feel stronger, and don't forget to add a bit of blur and enable frame blur to make the motion feel smoother and more natural. Just like in the previous scenes, I'll add effects such as dust particles and debris to make the shot feel more dynamic. Then, I'll adjust the timing on the timeline as we did before, and finish by adding a blur of around 20 to smooth out the motion and complete it. Next, we'll work on the energy beam effects. First, I'll adjust the timeline so the beam animation matches the timing of the scene. Then, I'll apply the roughen edges effect to create a grainy, uneven edge, which makes the beam feel more alive and closer to the original anime style. Next, I'll duplicate this layer and rename it Beam White, then set the edge color to white to define the bright core of the energy beam. After that, I'll duplicate it again, name it Beam Distance, and add the distance gradation effect to create a blue outer edge, giving the beam more depth and separation. Finally, I'll duplicate one more layer, rename it Outglow, and set it to white to create an outer glow layer, making the energy beam look stronger, brighter, and more impactful on screen. To remove any unwanted edges, select all 4 layers and increase the scale by about 4% to push them outside the frame. Next, we'll work on the white energy rings that appear inside the energy beam. First, I'll apply matte choker to soften the shape of the rings so they don't look too sharp and blend better with the beam. Then, I'll duplicate this layer and apply the distance gradation effect to create a white outer glow. To make this glow appear only on the outer edges, I'll use the previous beam layer as a track mat and invert the track mat, preventing the glow from affecting the inner core. After that, I'll duplicate it once again, change the distance gradation color to blue, and disable the inverted track mat. Finally, I'll duplicate the layer one more time and use roughen edges to add a grainy texture, keeping the energy rings consistent with the beam effects created earlier and making the whole effect closer to the original anime style. Next, I'll add transition frames along with energy streaks in the background to fully complete the shot and give the energy blast more impact. I'll adjust the timeline and fine-tune the timing of the transition frames so they sync properly with the motion and peak of the energy beam. After that, I'll create an adjustment layer to color grade the background after the energy beam is released. Here, I'll use curves to refine the colors and keyframe the opacity so the color change fades in smoothly and then eases out, avoiding any harsh transitions. Review the entire shot one last time, check the motion, colors, and lighting, and make a few final tweaks if needed to ensure everything looks smooth and fully polished. When everything is ready, let's create the final comp, set it to 30 frames per second, and finish this scene in here. Next, let's move on to cut 2. Here, I've already set up the character layer along with the cracked shield layer, as you can see. Let's start by creating a new solid to use as the background layer. Here, I'll apply a gradient ramp using 2 blue tones, light and dark, to build the background behind the character. In the original anime, you can see that the character is slightly tinted blue, so I'll use curves to boost the blue tones. Next, I'll duplicate the cracked shield layer, then apply the distance gradation effect to add a soft light green outer edge with a value of around 50. After that, I'll add the prepared overlay layer, set the blending mode to overlay, and lower the opacity to about 60% so the effect blends better into the scene. Duplicate the layer, add curves, and slightly boost the green tones, then lower the opacity to around 50%. Duplicate it once more and set one of the layers to multiply to add more color depth. Similarly, I'll add 2 prepared overlay layers. Here, I'll set their opacity to 50% and 40%, apply curves, and keep adjusting the color tones until the final result looks right. I apply the star glow effect to the crack lines on the shield to make them stand out more visually. I also fine-tune the settings and adjust the color tones so they blend properly with the background, avoiding any color mismatch. I then duplicate the layer, add deep glow to enhance the brightness and light spread, and finish with a subtle Gaussian blur to soften the details. Then, I add the pre-made energy particles to recreate the strong impact seen in the original anime. I also bring in the prepared shadow layers to add depth and contrast. I adjust the timeline properly with the time remap, making sure the particles, lighting, and motion hit right at the peak of the scene. To finish, I apply CC Light Burst to soften and spread the light edges, then switch the blending mode to overlay. This makes the energy impact on the shield feel more explosive, with light spreading naturally, and the overall effect coming together smoothly. Once everything is set, I'll create the final comp at 30 frames per second to add camera shake and make a few final adjustments. As usual, I'll apply motion tile first to prevent any edge cropping. Then, I'll use wiggle to create the camera shake, with the values set to 10 and 24. Finally, I'll add an adjustment layer and keyframe fastbox blur to create a blur to normal transition, making the shot feel smoother and more dynamic. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.